Hello, 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 and welcome to Effin' Fridays with Francine. I am excited to have this conversation today. Today, I have Nikki Starcat Shields. She is an author, book midwife, and leader of transformational writing retreats. She's also a licensed pagan priestess. Nikki has had 6 nonfiction books published so far and is currently writing a contemporary fantasy series. She would love to help her clients give birth to their heart centered book, whether it's a memoir, fiction, or self help. Nikki specializes in bringing your unique voice, your expertise, your passions, your most cherished stories, a little tongue tied this morning, to the page in a way that will engage and delight your readers. She also guides you to write your book in a way that supports you and helps you focus on your true priorities. Nikki teaches people to be thriving artists, writing their heartfelt books while also nurturing themselves in their creative lives. She lives in Maine and adores reading, cats, and spending time by the ocean. I love the ocean, Nikki, and I never get to the ocean. I have to come visit you in
Oh,
Maine.
please do. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Walking by the ocean is
Well,
the best.
yeah. Welcome. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Thank you.
So, Nikki and I have known our paths have been crossing for the last couple of years, I would say. And I was excited to have this conversation. For anyone meeting you for the first time, how do you describe what you do and how you came to this work?
So I came up, well, a friend of mine helped me come up with the term book midwife, but what it
Love
means
that.
is it's writing coach. So I help people who aren't necessarily thinking about themselves as an author yet. Like they have a book idea, or someone keeps saying, "Oh, your story's so amazing, you should write a book," or they just keep having these like just whether it's fiction or something they want for their business, like I should write this, but I don't know how.
Mm.
And so that is what I specialize in, is really helping them become a writer, which just means writing. It involves having a habit of writing and an intention and often a flexible outline for your book. And so there's certain containers that we set up. And so how did I get here? Well, I wanted to be a writer when I was a little kid. I wanted to write books, always loved books, thanks to my mom. And as I grew up, we were told, especially this was like, I'm 56, so this is like in the 80s, like, no, you can't be a writer. Like, that's
Right.
really rare. You're not going to be able to make a living. Don't do that. So I kind of went in a different direction. I went into journalism, discovered that like the deadlines really aren't great for my body.
That's
Like
not
that's
fun.
that's not good. Ended up working in my first career was in public broadcasting. So I was in public radio here in Maine and behind the scenes mostly, some on the air. Enjoyed that. I wasn't on deadline. I wasn't a journalist. I was more like holding the space. But it wasn't my calling, and I kept on getting urges to write, and I did some small pieces, and finally, when I was like in my early 40s, I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write books. So I started writing books, and as I did that, I started helping friends who were writing books, and and
Ah.
that's how it kind of came about. And I was at the time, I had left public radio, and I was trying to become an entrepreneur. It's like, okay, I know a lot of spiritual techniques. I can be a coach. I can, connect with people and help them be more. I've done a daily spiritual practice since 1997,
Oh,
like
wow.
every day. So like I can help people with that or whatever. So I was
Right.
working on that. And sometimes, I mean, you probably know from your business, it can be really intangible, like what you're giving them, right?
Yeah.
Like, so they're like, I don't know, do I need to, can I invest in this? Da, da, da. And so, kind of, my biz coach, I had a biz coach. We kind of put together, wait, you can be a book coach. They're getting a manuscript, but I'm still using my spiritual skills and my priestess
Right.
skills to help it happen, in a way that like enhances your life rather than being a
Well, then
super.
it's also like you have to give them what they think they need, right? But you give them what they want because like for me, I call myself a spiritual business coach and I feel like I love book midwife, right? Like when you say that, I'm like I know what that means and I've been changing what I because I don't care what you call me, right? The work that I do is not I can't explain it to you. And when I do explain it to you, people go, "Oh, nope, 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 nope," right? But I help women entrepreneurs get to the root of what's keeping them stuck. I get them out of that cycle of stuckness. And I've been doing market research recently to like listen to what my clients need and want and listen to the words that they're using because that's what they think they need, but what
Mm.
they actually get is something else, right? So you're helping them build that spiritual practice that probably helps them with their writing down the road, I would imagine, right? Because once you create that practice, right?
Yeah, you're opening, well, I call it, you're opening your creative wellspring. I feel like we're all innately creative as human beings, but sometimes we think that we're not. And we
Right.
think of it, oh, that's just for painters or people who are famous or whatever. It's like, no, everybody's creative. If I can help you open that creative wellspring, it will help you write your book, but it'll also help your life and your home and your relationships. And I had a client who was with me after she'd been with me for a couple of years. She was like, we're not just writing books here, right?
You're
Like,
like, oh,
I'm
you're
on to
on
you.
to
I'm
me.
on to, yeah, I'm on to you. So I was like, yeah, exactly. We're enhancing our lives with
Right.
creativity and spirituality are super close. They're very entwined for me in my experience. Yeah.
It's fascinating to me that I have spoken to so many creatives on this podcast. And for really my newsletter that just, well, this is going to air much later than what we're talking, but my newsletter that just went out this week was about creativity because for many, many years, my language was, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. I'm not creative. I'm not creative. Well, I
But
used to
just look at
write.
your office. Like,
I
that's so creative. Like,
I mean, and I used to write when I was younger, I wrote a lot more than I do now. And you were talking about you wanted to be a writer. Like I can remember one of my English teachers writing, I want to see you published someday, right?
yeah.
And when I was younger, I bought my very first big computer that was probably, had this big, for those of you listening, my arms, because I wanted to be able to type my words instead of writing it. Like I literally taught myself Windows. That's how long ago I bought a computer, right? I got a computer and I was like, I don't even know what to do. How do I save this Word document, right? Because it was so new.
Yeah.
But I used to love to write, and I didn't really think of that as my creative outlet, but it was. And I've been doing more. Took a neurographic art class recently, and it's really cool. If you get my newsletter, you'll see the picture that I did. But what I realized was I was okay with it not being perfect. I was the last one that finished, and I was like, that's okay. I'm doing it at my pace, at my speed. And I've shifted that narrative of I'm not creative because I'm creative in so many other ways. There's nobody that can problem solve like I can. If you have a crisis, I am the person you want there because I am going to be the calm in the storm and I am going to fix your problem, right? I am
So creative, right?
I'm a hairdresser for crying out loud, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I've shifted my narrative around creativity because, and I'm just curious, how many people come to you and say, I'm not creative, I can't write, I fill in the blank, and then how do you help them shift that narrative so that they can actually birth the book?
Well, you've really pinpointed it when you said I'm not trying to make it perfect. So the problem with
Yeah.
writing is we were taught in school to write and edit at the same time. We're kind of
Yeah.
making it perfect as we go. It has to sound like a textbook. What do you read? You don't read things that sound like textbooks unless you're in a
Right.
class, right? Like that's not what people want. They want the real you. And so we have to uncouple that process of editing and writing because there are different parts of the brain. When you're writing a draft of something, you're being creative. That's your right brain. You're just like you're flowing. And a lot of people, I guide people to use time writing to get to this. Because if you're
Okay.
timed, you're
Yeah.
just writing until the time goes off. You're not in that editor brain. So the editor brain, which is a helpful thing, just not at the same time,
Sure. Yeah.
is left brain analytical. Okay, which words am I choosing? Did I get the punctuation right? Da 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 da. Separate. We need to make them separate. And so
Right.
that really opens up a lot for people because they're not trying to because they'll sit there and they'll have written 3 sentences in an hour and trying to make it really perfect. It's like that is not how actual authors do it. It's
Right.
not that's not what we do. And also the other thing is many of us, like I'm imagining many of your viewers and listeners here, journal. And
Sure.
I have to
Yep.
say, journaling is writing.
Right.
Journaling may never get the light of day. You don't want to share it with anybody, but it's practice. You're writing, you're expressing your thoughts and your feelings on the page. That's part of the practice. What makes someone a writer? They write. So if
Right.
you're doing journaling, you're already on the path towards
Mm.
and obviously, like I said, it's gonna be different types of writing for your book, but it's warm up. It's like, if you want to hike a huge mountain range, like you start by like walking around your neighborhood and getting
Right.
fit and getting ready, and then you can hike. So
Yeah, you don't go to Mount Kilimanjaro and be like, "We got this. Let's do it. I got my
right.
sneakers. I'm good." Um, so do you just help people write books or do you help them write in other, because that might feel a little daunting, right? Like I know there's probably a book in me, but I'm like, I can barely get my newsletters out, right?
Mm.
So like, how do you get people from that, from, I can't even get my newsletters out to I got to write, 300 pages, 200 pages, whatever it is.
It's gradual. So I have a group program, and we start, and it's a year-long program, and it's very there's a lot of magical and woo-woo stuff. It's sort of centered around the elements: air, earth, fire, water, spirit. And so we gradually work up to it. And I have had people come to retreats. I also lead retreats. I had someone come to a week-long writing retreat and say, "I'm not writing a book, but I really want to focus on my business writing." And so she did
Mm,
that. And so it's really, I'm holding space for creative flow. And I find that in groups, the energy is really, really conducive to that. So I started off working one on one with people, and then my business coach suggested that I do groups, and I tried it and I loved it because we inspire one another with both
100%.
with the
Yeah.
celebrations and the struggles, right? So someone's struggling, someone else is like, I have that same struggle. What do we do? And then we share, and we
Right.
it's such a process. You think about writing a book, you think about, I'm just going to go off in my office and do it all by myself, but that's not the best
That's
way.
not the way it works.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your group program. I love the fact that you include the elements. So talk a little bit about how that works. What does that structure look like?
So what I started off doing the group program, kind of feeling into it, like trying different things that worked for me, and seeing what it was like. And I ended up taking them on the path it's not a linear path. Like creativity isn't linear. It's more of
Right.
like a spiral. It's things that we need. So then I'm really into the elements, the five elements, five sacred things. And so I got into, okay, so what would it be for fire? Like fire is your passion, your voice, what is it like? And different, pieces of the work went with that. And so then I wrote a book, The Elements of Creativity. So I have one of my books is that's what it's
Okay.
about. And now
And
I've kind
just
of,
plug
yeah,
your like where they can get all this. Is this on your website, which will be in the show notes, but you
yes,
want to
yep,
just
it's
share
on
that?
my website under resources. You
Okay,
can
perfect.
books there. Yeah. Um, and so then once I'd written the book, I was like, okay. And originally my group program was 9 months because of book midwife, like 9 months
Oh,
pregnant,
sure.
like
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
just the,
Yep.
the vibe of that. I was like, it's not quite enough. So I made it into a year. People can join anytime because it is that spiral path. You're going to get all the
Okay.
things, but it goes for a year, and I follow the path of the book, that
Okay.
you know. And
Nice.
so what we do some shadow work, which I'm sure you do in your coaching too.
Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
we do
Love
look
that.
into, okay, what's stopping me from writing? And a lot of times people come to me and they're like, okay, I want to write this book. I'm not sure how to do it, but how will I get published? And how big does my audience have to be? And I'm like, wow, you're going right to the end. Like let's start at the beginning,
I
right?
love that.
But
Yeah.
those are common thoughts and fears, because you're like, oh, what if no one buys my book? Or what if everyone buys my book and it's too
Right.
much? And so talking about those visibility fears and those shadows of not good enough, or the imposter syndrome, all of those shadow pieces that we have, we kind of can trace them back a lot of times to childhood, like, or even like college. So I've written all these nonfiction books, and I'm really comfortable with that now. Fiction, I have like this like little hitch. I'm writing it, but I'm like, ooh, is it good enough? Is it? And so for me, it was this college class. I took this elective that was creative writing, and the teacher was really like hard on everyone. And like I said, this was like the late 80s, early 90s. She wanted us to be tough and to expect rejection, but I, being a sensitive person, like took
Right.
that as, oh, I'm terrible, I can't write fiction. And for years that like stopped me, slowed me down. It's not even true. It's just this, we get this thing, this conception in our minds, and
Yeah.
we go with it. And so looking at that, like for me, shadow work is 90% of it is awareness. Once you shine the light of your attention on the shadow, it's not as scary, and you can
100%. Yeah.
integrate it back in. So we do a lot of that kind of work too,
Well,
as we,
and it's, there's no, I've been doing some parts work, right? Internal family system. There are no bad parts, right? Like it's
yeah.
all just part of ourselves and it's just information.
Mhm.
right? Like some of the parts that have shown up for me in the work that I'm doing, I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. And that explains so much, right?
Yeah.
And the shadow is the same, right? There's no, we have higher selves and we have lower selves. Our lower self isn't bad. It's just like sometimes I like being gossipy and judgmental. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person. That means I'm a human. And sometimes I'm love and light, and I can
Yeah.
be both.
Yeah. Yeah, and we in those parts, instead of like shaming them and hiding them in the dark, my biz coach had a great metaphor. It's like, yeah, no, they get to come in the car, but they don't get to drive or choose the radio
Right,
station. They can sit in the back with their coloring books and like be chill.
right,
So,
right. It's so true, right? I love that. Um, Share a little bit more about your group program because I want people to get a sense of what working with you would look like because, you know, and I love when I have these conversations because the wheels for me keep turning. I'm like, all right, I don't even know that I have like, so I actually this year, my my word of the year, I haven't even really talked about that on the podcast, I don't think. I was looking at, do you choose a word of the year?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I've only done it the last couple of years. So this year I had a couple of different words come up. And one of them was freedom, one of them was allow, be release, right? And I was like, those are elements of it, but that's not it.
Mm.
So I put all those words in Chat GPT and I was like, Chat, tell me what like the compilation of this is. And the word that came up was surrender. And I was like, F you, Chat GPT, F you. And then I was like, oh shit, that's my word, right?
Yeah.
So my journaling has been around of my year of surrender. Like part of me was like, oh, this could be the book, right? Like I have no idea how this is going to unfold because it's what we're recording this in January. So when this
Ah,
drops later in the spring, like there's still I'm hoping the resistance is a little bit light looser, right?
yeah,
But I was like, all right, maybe this is the book, right? But I don't know that. So for someone who doesn't know what the book is or what the thing is, because I have 7,000 topics I could talk
yeah,
about, right?
yeah,
How do you help them focus so that they can move forward, right? Because as creatives, right, even though I say I'm not creative, I've changed that. I am friggin' creative. That's the
yeah.
problem. I have all these ideas, and it's the execution piece that gets hard.
Yeah, very common. You're not
Yeah.
alone in that. I would say that the biggest thing that helps with that is having your intention be really clear. Not only like, so why are you writing this book? Not only what will it do for your readers, but what's it going to do for you? And for a lot of us who are
Mm,
entrepreneurs, it's like, oh, this is book is going to show my expertise in my field. It's going to help be like a little business card, calling card for what I do. Like
right.
that's a great reason. That's an intention. Okay, given that, what do I want my potential clients to know? Be like, how can I help them? And
Yeah.
also, think about helping them, like making the book really valuable for them. And then they want to work with you to get your individual attention, your special sauce, whatever the thing that you provide. Your book is going to really draw in aligned clients. So
Right.
then that becomes your intention. Like, okay, now what belongs in that container? It's about having a container. Really. I also want to tell you that my word for the year is relax, which is
I
very much
love
like yours, right? So, and then I was just on a call that was talking about the energy of this year. We're going into the year of the fire horse
right.
and a time of great, like fiery, not just this year, but beyond, it's going to be fiery. And if you think about a horse and it's fiery and it's like that's really active, but what are you doing when you're riding a horse? You have to be kind of calm and centered in the midst of all that activity. You can't just be flailing around like letting the horse, ride.
Right.
You have to like be the
You have to be
rider.
with the
Yeah, yeah,
be
go
with
with
the
it.
horse, with the
Yeah,
energy. I
and
love that.
ride it. And so relax and surrender both kind of like, okay, we're going to be in this amazing firestorm of potential, but we're going to be relaxed or surrendered to the process and kind of in it. And that for me is like the way to be a creative is we're getting all this like, ideas. Like that's really
Right.
common to have so many ideas. Most of the people who write a book with me have another book then they're like, oh, and my next book is da da da,
Right,
like
right.
it becomes a thing, but to not worry or stress about it, but to, okay, I'm going to relax into seeing how this unfolds. I have this one client who came to me and says, well, I have all these different book ideas. I think this is the one I want to start with. So we worked through that, and it became clear that like she was getting inner guidance, like, nope, not ready for that one yet. Let's do this one. And so she's writing a different book. So,
Right.
it's okay for things to change as we go.
I think it's interesting. Like, the word for me, surrender, I'm still in the like, what does true surrender? Because with surrender comes trust,
Yeah.
right? So and I call myself a control freak in recovery. And a few months ago, I was like, am I actually still in recovery? I'm not so sure. But what has been showing up for me is not forcing,
Yeah.
the allowing. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to just be in like, and I shouldn't say that. That's actually not true. Right now, I am certainly not in the whoa, just flow. But what I'm noticing is I'm forcing less. I'm being more, right? Last week, my sister had to put her dog down, and I had a day of appointments, and I was like, I need to be there,
Mm.
right? And so I had to, tell people, like, I was like, I can say I have a family emergency and leave it vague, or I can share what's going on and they choose how they respond to that. But in the past, I probably would have tried to figure out how to do both.
Right.
And I was like, I don't have the capacity to do. I can't be there for my sister and be there for my clients and my other appointments, right? So, and even the next day, I had a call with my business coach, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna cancel. I am not in a mental headspace to have this conversation. Like, that would have just been a waste of an hour, right? But for me, what's been showing up first is this like not forcing, and
Wow.
I don't know that that's true surrender yet, but I think it's the gateway,
Yes.
right? So it's an interesting exploration. So I've been doing a lot more like specific journaling where I haven't been before, because I'm like, all right, there's a part of me that knows I need to document this process, because next January when I'm like living, I'm in true surrender, I'm not going to remember. And I think that's part of it. And I'm sure you have the same thing with your clients. Like, I know with my clients, I tend to work with my clients long term. And I just finished a long term couple of years with a client, and it was time, right? Like, it was time for us to take a break, even if it's not over, but to take a break. And we talked about like the changes that she made over, because you don't see small incremental changes, but I'm like, you are not the same person you were 4 years ago when we started working together. So let's talk about those small incremental. It's not like all of a sudden, well, the angels are singing and life is different, but
Mhm.
we don't recognize the small incrementals.
Yeah, it's important to do. We do celebrations with my clients. Like, okay, what are your celebrations? And they can be little small things so that you're seeing that change.
Yeah,
And I liked what you said about not forcing. That's so true with the creativity. Is when we have these containers. So when they set up their writing habit or writing ritual, some like to call it writing ritual.
I love that.
Um, you have this time that you set aside in your calendar. It's like you had a dentist appointment or something. It's an appointment with your muse. It's really, key to keep it. But if you're in that and you're like, I'm just not feeling like writing on the book today, well, then what can you do that's creative? You could journal, you could get out a coloring book, you could even bring in the editor and be like, all right, I'm going to work on editing what I've already written today by choice.
Yeah.
Like, this is my choice. I'm not avoiding something. It's not feeling like the flow is there. It's not the right moment. But having that container where this is your creative space is keeping that forward momentum going, even if you're not writing on your book every moment. The other thing I like to tell people is you don't have to write your book in order from start to finish. We have what I call a flexible outline, which is just like a
Yeah.
document that has all your ideas for things. And even if you're writing a book about what you do for work, your business, you're going to have like anecdotes. Like, I want to tell, usually it's like a client story with the name changed and details
Sure.
changed, but XYZ story, and so you write out all
Right.
those things. And when you come to sit down, you might want to write something that's like two-thirds down the list. Do it. You can draft things out of order, and then the editor brain later is going to help you put those in
Yeah.
order.
I love
So,
that.
it's okay to like let yourself do what's fun, like go for the
Right.
fun. Like, oh, I really want to tell that story of transformation of that client from that was with me for 2 years
Right.
today. and I haven't even written my introduction yet. Fine, do
That's
it. Like,
that's how I create workshops, I've realized. Like I'm
yeah,
all over the place and it all comes together, but I'm like, oh, this is gonna go over here. Oh, this is gonna go over here. Oh, and then I'm like, oh, this is hard. Like my brain sometimes goes, oh, that's hard. But then I'm like, no, that's just like I think part of it, what I've learned as somebody who kept saying I'm not creative, is embracing my process. Because what creativity was for me is the person who can draw the art that's hanging on my wall. That I am never going to do. I don't want to. I actually like messier art, right? Like I'm okay with that. But recognizing my type of creativity and embracing that gives so much more freedom than being like, oh, I have to do it this way. I run vision board workshops, which is another form of creativity. And years ago, I witnessed this woman at a vision board workshop, and this stuck with me. She took all, if everyone's done vision boards, right? You go through magazines, you take out pictures, and then you paste them on a board. And you go, this is what I want. I want this beach house. I want this whatever. Well, what she did was she took all the pictures that she ripped out, and then she ripped the pictures and
ooh,
just pasted them on the board. So it looked like a collage. It was like no, it was nothing like physical, like you didn't see the beach house, but the energy of the beach house was there. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, and I just did a vision board workshop a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, it's so beautiful to see how everyone has the same tools and they are so different in what their outcome is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I know like creativity is like we think it's a hobby, right? But it really is this, it's vital to our businesses, to our continuity, to our existence, right? So why do you think creativity is essential to just life itself?
Well, as I said, it's kind of, for me, it's really entwined with spirituality. So when we're trying to find our source, and that can be like whatever it is it's different for different people. Some say God or goddess or
Sure.
universe or nature or whatever. It doesn't matter what you call it, but there's this something ineffable that's beyond us, right?
Right.
And so then that entity, that energy is very creative. We almost all cultures have the creator as one of their like titles for the divine, right? The
Right.
creator. And so tapping into that is something that can really um enliven us, and not just to write the book, but like I said, to like it spreads through all like areas of our lives. One thing that I've been doing a lot is guided meditation. So I'll take people on a guided meditation journey to get wisdom from their own inner beings. And
Mm.
so once you've made that connection and you've been guided several times, like continue to be guided, you start to make like be able to connect with it yourself.
I
And
love
that's where
that.
a lot of inspiration comes from, these ideas that are flowing in, inspired actions, and knowing when not to force, or when to, like knowing, oh yeah, no, today's not the day for that. Let's do this instead. Like it comes from that creative source that we're connected to. And
Mm.
so I think that's the reason that creativity is so vital, is the same reason that being connected to the universe is vital. It gives us more energy. It's like doing Reiki or something like that, like where the energy is not coming from you, it's coming
Right.
through
Through
you.
you.
And a lot of our writing comes through us. We talk about channeled writing, and then I had this inspiration like maybe a year or so ago. It's like, oh, fiction writing is very much channeled, because you dream up this character and then you put them in a scene and you kind of see it in your mind like a movie, like, and then you
Mm.
write what's happening. So it's very channel, like it's like
Yeah,
channel
yeah, yeah.
way. So yeah,
It's
I think
so
once you
interesting you say
do
that
that,
because the writing I used to do was more storytelling. And
yeah,
now when I think about doing like inspirational, how do I help people? That's I think where I get the block, right? And I think both have shut down a little bit for me, but it's really interesting where one is easier for some of us than others, right? Like
yeah,
I have a storyteller in my fifth chakra, right? Like
yeah,
my coaching is through storytelling. I would much rather like tell you a story than write it sometimes, right? So
yeah,
I've even learned to like just like talk my because I it's easier, right, to do
absolutely.
that.
Yep.
I'm curious with AI how how has that challenged or shifted or changed or supported people in their writing? Has it helped or has it helped or hurt people in their writing? And what are some tips you might have for people?
Myself and my clients are using AI as a tool for things that are not like directly the writing itself, generally, because the
Okay.
writing itself is like that's the fun part once you get into it. Like, oh, that's the fun part. I get to be
Yeah.
super creative. Um, Writing copy for a website, not so fun. I will get AI help with that.
Yeah.
Like particular types like conversion copy, particular types of things. But you still put in your own flavor, obviously, and you put in
Right.
your own style. Clients I've had using AI to like help organize things. Like, okay, I have a lot of writing now. Will you help me? Like, how can I organize it? So it's sort of like the peripheral support. It's like having a support staff person
Yeah.
that you have hired to do a specific thing.
Do they
Um,
use it for editing?
Not as much.
Okay.
That's an interesting and kind of an intriguing way to use it. A lot of my clients, so I also do editing, and I that's not my
Okay.
main job, but I
Yeah.
will work with certain projects and edit.
To edit.
And
Yeah.
my clients generally have other people in their life who are like editors or will help
Right.
them. So not as much with that, although I imagine it would probably be useful for that if you didn't have somebody.
My human design is I'm a manifesting generator and I'm a responder. When I learned that, it was life-changing for me because my creativity, it's the getting started, like the blank canvas. If
Mm,
you say to me, "What color do you want to paint your house?" I freeze. But if you say, "Do you want to paint your house blue or gray?" I want to paint it gray. Do you want to paint it light gray or dark gray? I want to paint it light gray.
yeah.
Right? So, but it's the blank canvas that not that I can't get started, but it's going to take me longer. So I've used AI for, hey, here's my ideas. Here's my, drop it in, give me
Prompts. Give
like
you prompts,
it
right?
gives me
Yeah.
prompts or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
for my newsletters, or it'll give me like a starting point. And then I go in and I go, all right, these aren't my words. I want to add some question, but it gives me some framework to then get started. Right? Like I think there's pros and cons with it, right? Because there are times I'm like, okay, that's not how I would speak, so let's
Yeah.
stop that, right? But it does, or I'm like, should I say this or this? Which goes better? So I think there's pros and cons with it, but at the same time, you want it to still be your own authentic voice.
Yeah. I mean, I see it as another writing tool.
Right.
I love that you mentioned human design. That's like another tool that we have
Yeah.
worked with in my group program. I am a reflector, a
Okay.
four-six reflector. And so that when I found out that again, it was like life-changing. Is like, oh, that's why, because I've always identified as an introvert, and yet I love to be in community. Like I'm very much about community. Like, what, how does that go together? Well, because I'm holding space for community.
Mm,
I hold space at retreats. I hold
right.
space in my program, and having like being that container, that space holder is really
Right.
potent for people to be inside
Eh,
the okay, I'm in a container, what can I do now? So
right.
that's really been
I
helpful. And
love
just
that.
for clients seeing what their design is, knowing that manifesting generators are supposed to have 18 million ideas and projects going. That's like you're
Right.
supposed to. That's your design.
And I've learned, I've been learning, recently I learned about it's like your inner creation team. And that was like, oh, like when we learn about ourselves, like whether you're into woo or not, there are things that drive us. And instead of like this kind of goes back to the not forcing. Like once I learned I'm a responder, it made so much sense to me why, when I became an entrepreneur, it was so hard for me to have to be the one who had to decide everything. Like when I used to lead teams, I worked with a team and people had different ideas, and then I can play off of that. But I was like, oh shit, I have to do it all and think about it all. Like that's where the stuckness got, right? Like I was like, okay. But then I've learned not to beat myself up, right? And just recognize that that's my process and it's going to be a little bit different than somebody who is this constant person who can just get it done. I can get it done, but the starting point is where I get backed up. So I just have to give myself grace on that. And then once I get started, we're good, but it's the getting started.
Well, that brings us back around because I never did like kind of answer your question about the structure of the program. So
Oh,
we meet
yeah.
once a week. in a live call, and I share content and we do check-ins and there's different things. But I also have they have a quarterly one-on-one with me to work on particular stuck places
Yeah,
or structure. We have a setup call at the beginning to get started. And then I have something that's called the parallel play dates. And I started it during the pandemic because we couldn't get together in groups and write in
sure.
person. And so once a week, either on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, it kind of varies, we have a 2 hour Zoom call. And on that call, we each come in and we say like what we're bringing to play with. It can be anything, it doesn't have to be your writing. It can be doing your newsletter, it can be knitting a sweater or whatever. So we say what we're working with. I take them on a little guided meditation and have a writing prompt to kind of get the creative juices flowing. And we have shares, which are great because some people like, oh, I love that idea, da, 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 bounce off of each other. And then we have like an hour and a half to work on whatever it is. And then we come back at the end and say how it went. And it can be anything from, oh, it was great, I was really productive, to I got distracted and I took a nap, whatever. It's
Right, right.
no judgment, but it's a place where we can show up together and be creative in a group setting. And that is so inspiring to people because it's like, oh, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one doing
Right.
this thing. I'm not, yeah.
Right. Yeah. That alone, like there's something about that. Oh, I could talk to you forever about this. But as we start to wrap up, I always love to ask this question. What is something you live by that you want to share with our listeners?
Ooh, something I live by. Um, I've been lately thinking a lot about, because the world is in such upheaval, is like, what is the value of creativity? And I live
Mm,
by creativity is not a luxury. It's not something we get to have once everything calms down, because that's not
right.
creativity needs to be brought to the front and prioritized in our lives. Whether you're, juggling many hats or you have little kids or whatever's going on, just a little bit of creativity time for you will be make such a difference in
I
your life.
love that. And when you think of little kids, they are creative in everything, right? Oh my God. It's amazing. I know you have an offer that you want to share with our listeners. You want to tell them a little bit about that and also where they can find you. We'll put all this in the show notes, but just also share with them where they can find you.
Okay, so my website is nikkistarcatshields.com, and most everything is there. I am also on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook at Nikki Starcat Shields, so you can find me with my name. And the offer is, if you are intrigued by this, but you're not sure you're quite ready to jump in to something like a program, it's kind of a do-it-yourself taster of what I do. And I call it the Book Birth Plan Challenge.
I
It's
love
a
that.
31-day do-it-yourself course over email, and it's $44. And so that's on my website, and I'll make sure you have the link for
Yep.
folks. But it's a
Perfect.
great way to kind of get your thoughts organized, see what your own strengths and weaknesses are as you kind of think about dipping your toe in the waters of writing books.
I love that. Thank you. So, as I do at the end of every podcast, I am going to pull a card, and we're pulling from my own personal deck now. We've got the From Busy to Being card deck.
Love it.
That if you're interested, you can go to foreverchangecoaching.com and you can purchase them there. I have three cards in front of me. So, Nikki, I'm going to invite you and the listeners. If you're driving, don't do this part, but just close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, and decide whether or not left, center, or right is the right message for you today. And when you're ready, Nikki, just tell me which one is for you.
Feeling like center.
I knew it was. I was like, oh, this is perfect because this is the message that you kind of doing. It's safe to slow down is the
Oh,
front. And on the back, it says, your body softens when you stop living in hypervigilance. And that's the
yes.
back.
Oh, oh, that's
And
so
if you,
pretty.
thank you. And if you chose left, feel all your feelings. All feelings are welcome. Let them move through you without judgment. And if you chose right, being vulnerable is courageous. Be courageous today. And on the back, it says vulnerability isn't about getting the answer you want, it's about asking for your needs no matter the outcome.
Ooh, I need the stick.
You can go to the website. They're there. They should be by the time this gets aired. So, Nikki, thank you so much. This I want to keep talking to you, but I'm also aware of time. Thank you so much for this conversation. It's been such a great conversation. And for those of you listening, if you want to find more about Nikki, you can go to her website. If you want, if this conversation stirred something in you and you're realizing you're done spinning and I want you are ready to make your next bold move, I want to invite you to an up level breakthrough session. It's a powerful space for us to look at what's really getting in your way and why things haven't shifted yet. So we're not just going to do surface goals. We're going to get underneath and understand why things haven't shifted for you. So even if you've been trying and trying and trying and you feel like you're that tired, well, I'm in Massachusetts and we're in the middle of a snowmageddon here. So like if you've been spinning your wheels in the snow and not moving forward, that's the work we're going to do. We're going to get you forward. So you can go to my website and book a call with me. Nikki, thank you so much. I am excited that you were here today.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.